that it's still here at close to 6 o'clock. I know it's been probably a long day for you. I've been here only from 12 o'clock. It's been like a full day of presentation. I would have hoped that more people would attend this talk, because I think one of the speakers mentioned about the fact that red teamers do create a lot of resilient infrastructures, and they do this whole stuff where they keep destroying and recreating stuff, and it's very hard for blue team side to block them and make sure that we have an up-to-date known domain list or IP list. So this is what the talk that I'm going to show you is going to be about, and it's going to be focused on. This is a very short content, just so you take a look and know what this talk is going to be about. I'm not going to go through each of the lines. Very few words about myself. I'm a senior penetration tester at 12sec. Maybe you've heard of them. They are Greek-based. So yeah, I'm working for a Greek client, but I'm not from Greece. Even though I, once 3 months, I go there and stay for 1 week. I have a lot of certification. Most of them are focused on red teaming and offensive stuff. On my time off, I like traveling for poker. Also listening to a lot of different songs, trying to find the best hi-fi system and things like this. And I also like to travel also, for example, I came here by car from Romania, so it's been a very long trip, and this is the last stop. So just a few words about what you should expect about this talk and what you should not expect about it. So we are going to talk about how to create the infrastructure that I said before, and what resources you're going to need. And also, creating is not the only important aspect, but also protecting the infrastructure, because that's how we defend against the blue teamers that continuously try to find us, block us, and create tickets to domain providers and say, okay, this is malicious, and take them down. Also, we're going to talk about the financial aspects. So what's the financial cost for this infrastructure, if it's worth having it or not, and also a couple of things that are still yet to be manually done, even with this automatic approach. So you should not expect about me going into and talking about how Terraform works, or exact line-by-line analysis of what I wrote, but we are mostly going to focus on infrastructure, key aspects, how you should approach, and what technologies we use to do this. Also, this is not a state-of-the-art or some sci-fi research that has never been done before. There are some people that have done this. I think even Rastamouse has provided some sort of resilient red team infrastructure in the past that I actually have my research on his, but the problem is that his is 3 years old. Most of the things are not working anymore. There's a lot of new things that are implemented, but that is a very good baseline. Also, this infrastructure is not bulletproof, but from what I've seen, I have actually used this with my client to, doing not red teaming in general, but also even phishing. So I have used this to spawn and destroy stuff very fast, and they are not able to block me or mark me as malicious. And also, this is not about an open source project yet, but we'll see that in the future. So I'll start with some simple aspects of what a red team engagement requires, or a phishing in shorter terms. So in a red teaming, we usually need for sure a host where we have a public IP, and it's actually a C2 like Cobalt Strike or other frameworks. We also need a host with a public IP to deploy a phishing framework. I think GoFish is the most known one, but you might also have custom proprietary tools. You also need a lot of multiple domains and a lot of custom DNS entries, subdomains, change CNAMEs or other stuff. And you also need a lot of redirectors, because as I think most of you know, everything that we have, the most important hosts with database and other stuff, are hidden. And what we actually see as a normal user is the front-facing infrastructure, that it's usually they replicate something legitimate, or they look like there is a legitimate business and there's nothing malicious in there. So we do that by having a lot of redirectors. We can either manually deploy them, or you can use domain fronting or other stuff. So in order to have all of the things that I've just said before, in general, we would use something for C2, we would use Metasploit, Sliver, Cobalt Strike, or Brutatel. If we need a phishing framework, we'd probably go for GoFish. We use GoFish to send emails and, manage the whole phishing scenarios, but we would need to use some phishing templates too. We can either manually have like an Apache with like our custom HTML, which is good, like 5 years ago. But the problem is that nowadays we need to have like an actual framework which provides like phishing templates that can, provide like real-time feedback on incorrect usernames, help providing like OTP bypasses and so things like this. So this is why we would use something like a proxy framework that would redirect everything from the legitimate. The user would see our domain, which is malicious, but the actual I would say the whole design and everything looks like the legitimate software or service that he wants to log in. We will also need like a GoDaddy, Namecheap, or whatever platform to buy domains to look legitimate. And this is like something I've added because I haven't seen anywhere. We actually need like a WordPress that looks like legitimate. So when you actually go to our domain, the first thing you see is like a WordPress blog or like a presentation website. So something that looks legitimate and would help like scanners to categorize our domain as, I don't know, we want to be a blog, we want to be like a bank. Okay, so we have like a presentation website that says we are a bank in America and we are doing this because we need to look legitimate. So if everybody is looking in the logs and they are trying to see who did send us the phishing scam and they see, oh, this is a weird domain, we go there. Oh, this is a classic bank, I don't know where in America. So we need to have something that looks legitimate. And we also need like a lot of tunnels. You can either choose from like SOCAT, SSH, or maybe there's other stuff that are useful, but I've used mostly SSH and SOCAT. So this is like a very simple, like basic diagram on how the infrastructure would look like based on what I've showed you before. So we see that we have two people that are important here. We have the victim and the operator. The operator is us, and us as the operator should have access to everything that we have deployed. So we should have access to the GoFish database, which is the main server. We should have access to the C2 framework, also on the other resources as well. But the victim, which is just like a simple user with some access to a workstation, when he goes to the internet, he would only be able to visit the GoFish proxy, which doesn't have the GoFish framework on it. It just proxies everything to the GoFish. Which he should also be able to access the phishing templates, because that's intended. At some point we'll give him a link and he would go to the phishing template. He also needs to visit the WordPress, so that's the main thing that he will be redirected every time he tries to visit our domain. And he also should be able, like, if we deploy like any sort of malware on his computer will talk to the C2 proxy, which is the front-facing part. So when, let's say they detect in some way they have a malware and they see the traffic to the C2 proxy, we just destroy it, build it again, and just do like redirect the actual C2 database. So we don't actually burn the whole C2 and recreate it, enter the license, import the profiles and other stuff. So we just burn the front domain. So now the question is how do we do that? And in general we have two options. You can use your own server. So if you have like servers, you can deploy VMware, ECXI, or other stuff and create like VMs and manage them. Or you can use like a cloud version, like use a provider such as, I prefer DigitalOcean, but any of them are supported throughout the presentation. And the problem is that for any of the above options that you choose, you have to do two stuff. You either have to create like a lot of bash scripts and try to automate everything manually or via scripts, or if you want to be like more, I would say like more in an automated thinking, you would probably create like some snapshots or like some base images that contain your whole tools and I would say configurations. And when you have like a new engagement, you just go and build from there. So you can either like pack them and upload to DigitalOcean as a base image and you spin your custom Kali Linux. Or you can do like, if you have VMware, you can just create like a snapshot or like a base image. You can use Packer from HashiCorp. So there's a lot of things that you can do to like automate. But there are, of course, this is I would say the traditional way of doing it. So there are a lot of problems with this. And the thing is that even if you have like base images configured, you still need to configure like custom stuff for your newly purchased domains, for your client, for your WordPress, which needs custom stuff. So you still need like some sort of bash scripts to configure, even if you created the VMs like I would say like in 5 or 10 minutes. Also, the question is, you have bash scripts and you install everything. How do you hide your license keys? Because once you deploy something on the internet, nothing is safe. So if you have on a VM a script that you run and installs your Cobalt Strike, and that's like doing in automated way. So you spin up the VM and by default it's copying a script, it's installing Cobalt Strike, it has the password, your license and other stuff. So the question is, how do you secure that? Because let's say your C2 has a vulnerability and somebody exploits it, they find your Cobalt Strike license and it's over. So you just wasted everything. So you just need to make sure that when you deploy stuff, you also are not deploying with like credentials that can be gained by other people. Also, another question is that if you build custom images or snapshots or other stuff, it's gonna require like a lot of space. So you have to store them. Like, for example, let's say you have like 10 different VMs with like different frameworks or whatever you want. Everything is gonna require like a lot of space because it's not just the kernel, it's the whole image. So it's gonna take like at least 50 gigabytes every time you want a new screenshot. So you also need like a lot of space. And also, the question is, you have everything set up, and there's a new tool that is coming out and is better than all of the before. You have to recreate the whole stuff. So you have to go again with the base image, install the tools, pack it, and then upload it again. So this, you have to look every day for if there's a new tool, you have to recreate stuff. This is like very time consuming, and that's what we are going to try to avoid here. And the solution, probably some of you might have heard about the term as infrastructure as a code. So we basically want to code everything that we are going to build as an infrastructure. There are multiple providers for this, but basically the most important aspect that we want to achieve with this is to make sure we can destroy and recreate stuff with like a simple command. We also want to make sure we can configure host, like, okay, this host is going to be created, we have the code, and then when it's created, it's going to run these commands and these scripts and do this stuff, so we make sure it's configured, especially for the current, like, engagement. And we also want to import secrets or tokens or whatever we might use during the installation to make sure it's safe, so they are not actually disclosed in the host. So if someone compromises the host, they are not going to find our passwords or license keys. And yeah, this is the result. So we're going to use infrastructure as a code. There's multiple providers for this, but what I've chosen, because I think it's the most popular one, it's Terraform. I'm not going to go through all of these details, but this is like a sample on how the project looked in the end of the research. And we have like I would say there's half of them are the most important thing in the folder. The first thing is the cloud init. Did everyone hear of cloud init before? Okay, so when you deploy like a new instance, let's say Ansible or whatever, you're gonna need a provider that goes in the VM at the end, and they are gonna install whatever you want. So that's called a provisioner. So cloud init is a technology that is gonna be used after the VM is created to install everything we need. We're gonna say install Apache, modify the file and have that configuration, install SSL certificate. So we are gonna need like some sort of interface to say what commands we are gonna need to be run on the VMs. So this is a folder that is going to contain one file for each of the hosts with commands specifically for that host, how it should be created. And this is also code. So you actually, if you need like a new configuration or like you need to modify the Apache configuration, you just go in the folder, go in the host file and say, okay, now I want this in the configuration, change it. Also another important, I would say, a couple of files here are the ones that start from the C2 back till the end. So they specify for each host, this is the Terraform file that they specify, create this host, which should have like 1 processor, 1 GB RAM. It should have this configuration, which is related to the cloud init. You should be able to access it using this SSH key and other stuff. So they usually look like the same. It's just like the name is different, and if you have like specific configuration. And in the last part, we have the most important ones, which are firewalls, DNS, firewalls and DNS for now. So firewalls is going to specify every firewall rule that we want to implement in DigitalOcean in this example, but you can also do GCP or other stuff. And then the DNS is going to be everything that is going to be created by default as subdomains or anything else that we need. If we are doing our own custom SMTP stuff, we're going to specify the whole SMTP relay, what records you need to create and other stuff. So this is I would say the most important ones. The first one, like the variables and providers, is like basic Terraform stuff. I use the variables because I actually love coding, so I like, separating stuff from the code, and everything is a variable, and you just go in the variables if you need to modify like the operator IP, the front domain name, The SSH key name, you just go in the variables, change it, and everything is updated. So, if you create this environment that I just showed you, it's going to look like this, like in the dashboard. So you're going to have all the hosts that you created and the domains that you have registered already in DigitalOcean. Also, if you go like to the DNS records and see like everything that has been created on a networking level, you're going to see all the records here and also all the firewalls in the same place. So it's very easy to see and manage. If I want like a very custom stuff that I didn't add in the code, I just go in the dashboard of DigitalOcean and then create it here. So this is the basic stuff. So we create the VMs, we know some tools. Now the question is, how do we customize this? Because it's not that easy to create like a red team infrastructure and have everything like, at least very modern in terms of like, we want to make sure everything is like compliant with the new stuff that we have to create and defend against. So the first thing we need to do, because a lot of tool doesn't support SSL, we have to enable SSL for every proxy, redirector, everything. So they are going to all have SSLs. And we are not going to do that manually. We're just going to use like Let's Encrypt, and we're going to by code specify which domains we want, and they are going to generate SSL certificates by default. For the back hosts, we don't need like custom SSL certificates. We just need like self-signed, that's fine. For the front facing, we're going to need Let's Encrypt. So we always need two domains, but only one domain is going to get certificates. So let's say if the front domain is burned and you don't have another one, you just switch the back domain with the front domain, because, no one has seen the back domain yet. We also need to remove every indicator of compromise from GoFish, EvilJinx, or any other frameworks if you use any. And we would like to make sure we are not discovered. So I would say that this, trying to be hidden from the other guys is usually going to be done by blacklisting everyone. So this is like just a simple demo on how like the syntax looks. If you want, for example, in the cloud init file for a specific host, if you want to enable SSL, you just need to modify some specific Apache config. So you would specify that when the host is created, please write this file with this content somewhere on the disk to make sure Apache knows the configuration and it enables SSL. Also here, all of the proxies would have the rewrite rule. We have logging, so we can filter based on user agents and other stuff, and they're going to proxy everything to the back domains. Yeah, this is another example of the configuration. So it's usually, there's a pair of 3 files that you have to modify to make sure SSL is enabled and everything is supported and redirected to the back hosts. Also, we are going to need like some commands to be ran, also in the same file as before. We need to generate the certificates, enable some specific Apache modes, delete the port 80 because I never like having it open. And this is pretty much all for the redirector. So I would say it's usually simple to create the redirectors. Now if we go to the actual frameworks that we're going to use, so it's GoFish. If we go on GitHub and clone it, and we try to find like what indicators might show a scanner that there's GoFish there, because even though they can only see the front-facing part, for example, the 404 template. So when the scanner goes and they go / something that doesn't exist, there is a 404 page. They're going to do like a MD5 sum or a SHA-SUM, and they're going to compare to like a known database list where they know this sum is for the GoFish 404 template. So we need to modify that because they would know it's GoFish even though they don't see the GoFish port or anything else. We also need to modify like specific controllers, disable or replace at least the default tracking parameter, delete specific headers that are going to add in every email request, because in email, if you go to show original, you're going to see everything that was added in the email. And if you use GoFish by default, there's just going to be like an X GoFish header there if you look. So that's also an indicator of compromise. You can do all of this manually or via script, or you can use the project which is called Sneaky GoFish, and it's also used here, which already has all of this installed. And to create the VM with this, I just create a VM, install Docker, and then run this. So this has like a Dockerized version. And now for the EvilJinx, because I'm not sure how many people know that they have left like a lot of indicators of compromise in the code. So for EvilJinx, which is the man in the middle framework, they're not going to do like a lot of stuff to tell everybody they are EvilJinx. The only thing they're going to do is add a new header in every request that says X EvilJinx and the actual host that the request is coming from. So this actually tells everybody this is EvilJinx, and this is the host that is being used as the EvilJinx host. And they didn't make this like very clear because they did have like specific, encrypted bytes with hex. They extort something, they create a new header. They don't specify X-level jinx, they specify replace the home directory with some letters, and the actual result in the end is X-level jinx. So there's multiple places here. I think there's also a function that says you can find me or something. This is in the actual code. And also, because now there's a newer version for this, which I actually used in the project, EvilJinx 3, they also had the same stuff. They differ a bit like the code they added because they know everybody knows about the code before. So they just created like a new function that replaces some strings, and then they put it as in the header. So now about the whole blacklist stuff, because this is, I would say, the part where we will try to, make sure no one finds the infrastructure and they cannot detect us and something like that. So, blacklisting. First, every provider on the internet, but I'll start with Google and Microsoft, they will scan the entire public range every day. So this is what they do. They scan it and they map every service fingerprint, everything they have, they add it to the database, and that's how they can find like easily detected phishing page. If you put something on the internet like a phishing stuff and you don't block access to it, it's going to be detected in like a matter of hours. Also, if you have like a Cobalt Strike publicly available, they can map the service, they see the fingerprint and they know this fingerprint might look like Cobalt, so we are going to block this host. Or we go to Amazon and say this is Cobalt Strike. We actually had this. So we had a Cobalt Strike that we left it there for like a month after an engagement, and then the Amazon came in and said, hey, we have received a complaint that you left the Cobalt Strike. Why are you using this? Is this legitimate or not? So just make sure you know about this, scanning stuff, and you block all of them, or you just remove it. And also, this is not specifically related to Google or Microsoft, because every threat intelligence business will do this. The thing is that most of them will probably say somewhere publicly, especially Google or Microsoft, what is their IP range of the scanners or protection. For example, if they have Office suite, they were going to specify on their Microsoft page that this is the Office protection IP range or something. So they are going to scan emails, attachments with that IP address. So it's very easy to block because we know them. But the problem is that any threat intelligence business will also scan it, and they are not going to say us, this is my IP range. So how do we find it? An easier way would be to either like put a firewall rule that we only whitelist specific IPs, but this is hard because if you do a phishing, you don't know like what IPs the clicks are coming from. So the other option would be, if you use, for example, EvilJinx, I can just spin like a phishing template. This is intended. Put blacklist mode on and left it there for like 2 or 3 days. And everybody that is going to enter that, my domain or my site, my phishing site, is going to be like an automated scanner, because no one will ever know. By default, the link is not going to be in a blog post or like an Instagram post. So they are not going to know that it exists, except if they are like an automated scanner. So after 2 days, I have like a huge list of people that try to reach me, and then I just block. The next time I destroy this, recreate it with the blacklist instead, and I know who is going to scan me. There are also like specific software on GitHub that they do some sort of custom implementation of GoFish, and they already have like their blacklist from what they've seen in the wild or what they collected from Microsoft and Google pages. Yeah. So if you run the tool, for example, in blacklist mode, you're going to start seeing like this. So there's a lot of IPs or ranges that are going to try to hit everything that you have opened, and by default we're going to block them. But this is how it would look. Okay, so let's go a bit on the cost, because everything is almost free. So Terraform is free for local deployment. I also have used for this project the cloud version, which is also free for up to like 500 resources, which is, again, I have like 60 maybe on the project. So I would say everything is free. So you don't actually need everything extra. You just need to spend some time on, learning how to code in Terraform and build the infrastructure. And for the normal costs here for digital provider, but this is usually not relevant, because if you have your own servers, you're also going to have costs. So we are not reducing anything. You just need to like the VMs. So, okay, we talk about what we can automate. The question is what is left and what still needs to be done like during each engagement. And the most important thing is to find the right domain and purchase it. So this is one of the things. You would try to find domains that look similar to a specific client name or something like that. But in general, you would also want to like find a domain that has like a very good reputation. Also, after you buy the domain, because everything is managed by DigitalOcean, you have to make sure you change the name servers to DigitalOcean, because that can be automated. I mean, probably you can do a script to do like a query on the API and add the domains, but it's just like a simple, like 1-minute stuff. And also you need to create and configure like an SMTP relay. So GoFish will send emails, but you have to tell him, how do I send these emails? Like what mailbox I'm gonna use. So you need to create that and configure. And also build a reputation on the domain that you purchase. So you get a domain and you want to make sure it has like a good reputation. It's not gonna be blocked. For example, if you're trying to mimic like a bank or like a financial institution, you want to make sure that a lot of providers on the internet know that your domain is actually banking or financial category. And one more thing that I think it would be worth customizing is linking the GoFish with the Evil Jinx, because at this point, the only thing you can actually track with this combination of GoFish and Evil Jinx is who opened the email, if the email was delivered or not, and who clicked the link. But if after this, they are redirected to the Evil Jinx, and when they enter the credentials, it's not going to appear in GoFish, because they are not linked, they are different hosts. So, I mean, this is the downside of not using GoFish like in its full potential, because by default they have like a landing page where the actual victim goes and you provide like an HTML code where you say, okay, this is the password form, this is the username form, but that's not going to work unless if it's like a very basic page, and I don't know. I would never use that, because you have OTP, you want to do more like multiple steps. If the user enters like a wrong character, I'm not going to say successful. I want to know if the username is valid. So, what's the whole thing about SMTP relay? So I've actually started working on this project like 1.5 years ago. And initially, when you have like a DigitalOcean host or whatever, you can open port 53, and you can actually, on your own domain, create like a SMTP relay. So you can spin up Postfix and other software to make sure you send everything from your domain. So they have realized that a lot of people were using this for like phishing scams, and they said every provider on the internet, they are blocking everything related to SMTP. So you can no longer open port SMTP on the host and send emails from, the host that you just deployed on the cloud provider. They are going to block it. So for this, you're going to need to, like one option would be to migrate from the cloud infrastructure to like, if you have your own VMs and servers locally, you don't have any restrictions. So you can simply, configure the VMs, but we have the problems that we mentioned before. So Terraform is going to work with like cloud providers. If you want something else, you're going to have to change to Ansible or other stuff, and they don't have the full support that Terraform has, and all of the features you're not going to be able to implement, like firewalls and other stuff maybe. So the other option is to use like some services that are online to, send the emails on behalf of you. So you either use like Google or Microsoft with a business plan, because you have a custom domain, so you have to register the custom domain of the provider, so you send emails for them. But that's a bit sketchy, because you are going to send like a lot of phishing emails, and they are going to see it because it's Google and Microsoft. So you don't want to send through them. You want to just send for like a provider that doesn't care if it's malicious or not. So you can use like SMTP and domain authentication, it's called, with like a provider such as SendGrid, which is the one I used for this project, and which is free for like up to 100 emails per day. And you just create an account, configure your domain. You have to create like some custom DNS entry to make sure it is your domain, and then you are set to go. Like everything is gonna go through SendGrid. If you want, SendGrid will also provide metrics on people that open the emails, click the link. Also, if you want to do that, but this is already done by GoFish. I mean, you don't want that. So this is how you just go in SendGrid and create like an API key, go in GoFish, and set the SMTP details to be sent through SendGrid with your API key. Okay, so now we are going to talk about domain reputation, because if you are only going to follow this test until now and you're going to go and send an email from your domain, it's probably going to be marked as phishing or scam, or I don't know, I don't trust this, I have never seen this. So the important aspect is to make sure your domain has a good reputation on the internet, and this usually requires like, I would say like a minimum 1 month to do this. Depends on how much money you have. So one option would be to buy a domain that has a good reputation. This sounds weird, but if you go and track and monitor domains that are going to expire, and you look for them, and in the day that they expire, you go and purchase them, you might get lucky and buy a domain that has already like a reputation of like a known bank that was, I don't know, maybe a weird place somewhere on the globe, and they just forgot about paying the domain, and you just go and buy it. So you have the good reputation already. You can find them on expired domains if you want to track them. I'm already working on a tool because you want to find like a specific domain on a specific category. So if you go here, you don't have the specific filters. So you have to pull every data they have. Then you have to go through each domain and search online to see their reputation if they are a specific category. So this is also like some things you can automate. And if you want to build your own reputation, so not buying a domain that has a good reputation, as I said, you can create like a landing page at WordPress. You have to do like a lot of, I think it's SEO or whatever they are called, having a lot of links to blogs, creating a blog that links your WordPress. So, you have to do like all this stuff. Also, you want to make sure that you create a WordPress with data that is relevant to the domain reputation you want to be. So if you want to be a bank, you're gonna, try to provide like specific, I would like, to have like a blog post on like banking stuff and how to secure a bank and other stuff. So it's going to be categorized as banking. And if you have time, it's good also like to post comments or news or use any social media to make sure there is some sort of knowledge about this domain and people go there, they know it exists. Leave it some days so that Google has time to index it and see it's legitimate, there's no phishing. And after that, you actually use it for the engagement. And another thing would be to warm up your inbox, which means there are specific providers, but I think you can also do this, which is a bit harder, where you log in your mailbox and for like a period of like 60, 90 days, they have specifically created email addresses on different providers, and they are going to ping pong messages with those providers that they have. So they are going to send emails every day and say, hey, how do you feel today? And they are also going to respond, yes, I'm fine. This way, the providers know that there is a actual good and real communication between different email addresses. So they are going to know that when they see a phishing email from you, this email has provided like 1,000 emails that were good before. Maybe this is a mistake. Maybe, if it's not sure about if this is a phishing or not, the previous messages are going to help. So this helps creating like a good reputation on your mailbox. Okay, so as I said, you have to make sure you have the right category. So if you create the domain and wait for 1 week and you still don't have a good reputation, you can manually go through some of the vendors and try to submit like a request to make your domain be health or banking. This is, for example, a good list of providers that are known. You can go on the Blue Coat or other providers and, submit a request for domain observation. So they would go, supposedly they will go manually and inspect your domain and then say, okay, this is legitimate. We have our database. We're going to update it to make sure everybody knows this is banking. So the question is all this process of, automating requests through the providers and make sure they have the right category. Is there a tool that is already available? And the question is yes. This is called Chameleon. It's a tool that does the exact same thing as I said before, but it doesn't provide support for all of the vendors that were before. So I think by default they only provide support for 3 vendors. But the problem is that this tool also was not updated for like in the last 3 years. Every vendor has implemented CAPTCHA, so all of the forms have changed their names and everything is not working anymore. So like none of the vendors that they do, it's working anymore. So the idea is that we already know that what we need to create, so we can also code this. So this is another tool that I have implemented in the project, but is separate, because when you want to create like a reputation, so you build the infrastructure and then you run the tool, which will by default go on each of the providers, take your domain and say, okay, classify this as, I don't know, a parameter that I specify, health, banking, or whatever. So you simply use like a Selenium driver or anything in Python because that's very simple. You open a browser, you mimic like a user going in a page, submitting a request. If you see like a CAPTCHA, there are like a lot of CAPTCHA solvers on GitHub that are free. And you can use that and use ChatGPT to make sure your message that you're going to send to these vendors is like, look, at least legitimate. Like, hey, please help me with this. So, I named this Chameleon V2 because it's based on the idea of the previous Chameleon, and for now it only provides support for these vendors that it goes and submit or checks the current category, maybe because if we buy a domain and we want to check the category, we want to see where it is. This also can be integrated with the other thing that I said, where you go in the expired domains, pull all the categories, run this tool, see which has your designed category, and then you use that and buy it. So the question is, okay, we have this tool and we submit because at this point we submit like very basic stuff. We say, hey, this is my health blog. Please mark it in your database as a health domain. And the question is, what are they going to respond? They're going to visit my website. They're going to respond like by default. They're going to say, no, we need more details. Please provide like any sort of details on your domain. So what happened is that most of the vendors, like 60% of them, I mean, it's only 5 or 6 now, so it's 3 or 4, but 60% of them just say, okay, we updated our database. Some other people say that, okay, this is still a newly observed domain because it was just bought, so we are not going to flag it as anything for now. And some of them flag it as IT, which I have no idea what it means, but it's IT, I don't know. As long as it's not malicious, it's fine. So this would be like a very simple screenshot on how the tool would look like. Okay, so the green doesn't look very good. So this goes through every provider, says the current category is this, and I have submitted the request with your specified parameter as a category. So this is also like fun with like the response that I got. Like some of them responded like a matter of minutes. And especially like Bright Cloud just said, okay, we have updated our database. Lightspeed System said, hey, someone manually has viewed your website and has marked it as health, thank you. And I was like, no, it's just a simple blog. It's like just one page of WordPress and nothing else. Also, I manually, or I think by the tool also did like in Talos Intelligence, they don't provide you like an email where they don't come back to you and say, okay, we did it. But if you go to their website and check it, they mark it as health. So I don't know what they did there, but they just mark it as whatever I wanted. And I think the last one, I don't remember, I think McCafe or something, or Symantec also flagged it as medicines and health, because that was my health blog. Okay, so this was the main part of the presentation. I also have like a very short live demo where we just send like some emails and see how they look and how the phishing framework looks like. So let's just hope everything is gonna work as expected. So first of all, the question is, what is your health blog that everyone said, this is health, and this is all of it. Oh, it doesn't, oh God. No, I see it here, but I don't see it there, that's a problem. I have multiple desktops. Are they gonna be shared on the TV if I swap them? So I do have like multiple desktops. Is there any way I can also make them appear on the screen?
Yes. I mean, what do you want to do?
So this is desktop 2. It's not gonna show there.
Yeah. Do you want both of them?
I want. There's like 4 of them, but sure.
You just can't see.
I mean, open the email. It's okay.
Unless I can mirror your display.
Yeah, why not? I mean, why do we have extend?
Yeah, we have extend.
You also have to flip it.
Yeah. But that's the problem, because on Windows I don't think you can flip only one screen.
Well, we have to test.
That's the
No?
problem now.
Okay, and then I'll try to move them all in the first screen. I'm just gonna move them in the first desktop, that's fine. Just go back in the previous configuration.
Yeah.
But now it's flipped. Okay. Yeah. So.
Just have to. Oh, you
I
have
know.
to move.
Yeah.
You just.
I have to move this.
So basically, you just put it like
Oh,
this.
because it's not slideshow. Okay. This is annoying. Okay. Oh, so now I have to look here. Okay, so this is the magical health blog that I created in like 10 minutes. We have like a very simple mailbox here that we're gonna send the emails. And I also have to move this window here, which is not gonna... Yeah, where is...
Yeah.
Okay. So, First I have to go and enable the internet because I need to be able to access the phishing framework. Okay. Well, they just disconnected me from the Wi-Fi. Okay. So now, but I also have like the Brave browser, it doesn't show here. So where are all of these now? Where is the other window?
I don't know.
Oh God.
Is it here?
Okay, wait.
Yes,
Okay.
you have to.
Let me move this.
So,
Okay.
But you need to move.
Yeah. Yeah, wait. First I have to make sure I can open it again. Okay, so this works here. I also think I have DigitalOcean here.
It's on your left.
Yeah. So. Where is the button?
Maybe go down.
Oh, let me. I don't know. It doesn't show the.
No.
The internet is not working.
Yeah, just all of them.
This is the main host that is going to have the Evil Jinx framework. So I'm just going to go where it's installed and run it. So when we send the phishing email, we're going to be able to go there and enter the credentials. Evil Jinx. Well, it doesn't look very, very nice, but I'm going to explain what it should see here. So I have only one phishing template enabled at the moment, which is the Office one. So when you go to the link, you're going to see the Microsoft login page, and if you enter the credentials right, you're going to get a token back. So this is the default view. So to make sure this is enabled, okay, this is visible right now. So now let's send the email. Okay. Come on. Doesn't want to connect.
Maybe it's your port. Do you have like in the mail like a simple email? Just demonstrate the email.
I think I deleted it. And this should work. Let me check first.
Yeah.
No, because no, the goldfish is down.
This looks like the droplet.
This is the one.
I mean the fish is out. Yeah, I think let's go with just a simple email and then
Well, I need to have this work.
remove it. Maybe it's the port that is not acceptable.
No, it was until before. Ping would not work because of the firewall. Let me...
Is it Docker PS? Is it a Docker component?
Yeah. How do I restart?
You have 333. Okay, what if you do curl on the local host on 333?
Let me restart this maybe.
Just you need to.
Yeah. Okay, so some parts of the demo doesn't work, but I have like a very old message that I sent using the GoFish. This is a simple text where it has like a link at the end. If you go and click this link, it's gonna first track all your email open and clicked links, And after that, it's going to do like a very quick redirect to the phishing page, which is also here. Okay, so this is the phishing page, which has the custom domain, and it looks exactly like Microsoft. So here, if we simply introduce the one good email address and password and the OTP code, it's going to be successful, and it's going to redirect the victim on the official Microsoft page after. So I have a test account for this. Okay, let me get the password from the other screen. Okay, let's also see the OTP code. Sure. Okay, so this is done. Now it redirects to the official Microsoft page. Now a normal user would probably be already logged in the Microsoft page, so when this redirect happens, it's going to actually redirect him to the actual Office, UI, which is authenticated. So if we now show the Evil Jinx here, and move it to the other screen. Okay. I don't think it looks very legitimate, but right there down is the username, password, OTP code, and down it says that every tokens have been intercepted. So if we want to view them and, for example, import them in like a cookie manager and impersonate the victim, we can just type in sessions. Okay, and we have the session for the user that I introduced here, and we can also do sessions 1 or 5. Okay, and this is the actual token that is used to impersonate the victim. So this is like an authenticated stuff. You don't actually need to go the second time and put username, password, and OTP, which is changed. You just take this code, this whole code, and put it in the browser and import it as a cookie manager. Okay, so this is the only part I could show. If the GoFish would have worked, I would have also shown how the emails were sent, and when it says that you have clicked the link and the whole redirect from GoFish to Evil Jinx. But for some reasons, the demo doesn't work for now. So, okay, so this will be all. If anyone has any questions, I would be more than happy to respond. Yay!
Hey. First, thank you. It was really brilliant presentation. I just want to ask some specific question. Is there any way to remove this annoying GoFish variable that appears at the end of the link that it sent? GID.
So that's actually what I named the parameter. I mean, you can change the parameter. I think initially I think it's RID, from grid.
Yeah.
So when you create the GoFish, this custom image has GID because it's the Google tracking stuff. You can name it whatever you want. You can say user verify equals to, but they are going to add a specific unique token at the end to map the user that were sent the emails. Oh. But yeah, you can change that.
So you can customize the name of the token?
The name of the parameter in the URL, yes.
So can you also customize the token itself, like the complexity, the length?
So probably this is coded in the GoFish. So probably you can go in and create. It can be named Star Wars, but there should be a function that maps a user that was sent the email with the actual token.
I couldn't find an easy way, so I would.
You can customize everything. Okay. I think there is a project. So the project that is called Evil GoFish. Mm-hmm. They already mapped the database from GoFish to Evil Jinx. So when they spawn Evil Jinx, they just link the GoFish database because they are on the same host for their project. And they are on the same host, so they just import the database, and when they get a token or a username and password, they go in the GoFish database with an SQL client, and they just put it there. So this also shows in the GoFish panel.
Thank you.
Okay.
Does anyone have it? Okay. This is going to be the last question because we have to.
Hey, thank you for the presentation. I'm very curious about the architecture that you built. I'm just wondering with the email, like the GoFisher, right? The phishing platform. So there are many email security vendors that can actually filter these as phishing. I noticed it myself in my experience. 99.9% of these are categorized as phishing, not by exchange exchange protection, but by email security vendors. Is there anything like, let's say, is there anything you can implement within the framework to, let's say, hide that malicious, the link specifically that redirects to a phishing page? Like,
so I don't think that the link is specifically marked as malicious. So what I tested in the last thing, so first of all, if you send an email that has images, all the images I uploaded to Imgur, because it's a very known domain to host images and assets, and that was the only website that it worked to upload image and reference from the email that are not blocked. And then there's another thing, if it's a new sender, and you have images or links, the email in Outlook is going to say, okay, you will receive it in the inbox, and it says, this is a new sender we haven't seen before. Do you trust this?
Yeah.
If yes or no? And then they want to show the blocked content, which is not malicious. It's just images or like specific fonts that you put it. So the thing is that if you would use like the warm-up mailbox, this email, like this mailbox or domain or whatever, should have been seen before. So maybe Outlook will not flag it from the start as malicious. And as for the links, I would probably, like if I would choose for a phishing template, I would not choose to put a link in the email, first of all. You can either put it like without HTTP and do like HXSP or something like that. Or you can use, there was like if you do like, you target Google, there is like a Google open redirect, which is known like, there's like a meeting.google.com/redirect URL equals to. So you could use that, for example. Or you can use like a link that has maybe CAPTCHA when someone goes to there. But what I would use actually as a phishing template is the device code phishing, if anyone has heard of it, where you simply send the user an email where it says, okay, we have a new device connected to your Microsoft. If you want to approve this, you have to enter these 6 digits. So when you go to Microsoft and do like Microsoft.com/ I think it's Smart TV or something, there's a specific endpoint, and you enter these 6 digits that were in the email, so there's no link. You go that, I by default get the session token of your like Microsoft account. So there are ways like to do phishing without putting links. But as for making sure the link is not blocked, you just have to build a good reputation. That would be the only thing I would think of.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Thank you.
There is one more.
We don't have time. I mean, like, we should have ended like 10 minutes, so guys, please make it quick.
Consider it the demo time.
Thank you, Rio. Andrei, just a quick question. Sure. When you're building the WordPress site and you're sending the emails manually, did you mention it's going to be a period of 60 to 90 days or a week? And the second question is, the mail server is using a SendGrid IP. Suppose you're using a DigitalOcean IP, and a lot of them are blacklisted. How much of an impact does that have on domain reputation?
I'm not very sure I've heard you like correctly, because the sound was very bad here. So the first email was the first question was about WordPress, right?
Yeah.
Can you say again what about WordPress?
So WordPress, when you are building your WordPress site,
okay.
And building the domain reputation from the second method,
okay.
Rather than buying an expired domain, how long do you suggest that site is active for, and how long do you suggest sending the emails? I think I missed it. You mentioned 60 to 90 days.
So yeah, the best warm-up provider that I could see for the mailbox would say that they would reach the peak for like the best reputation in like 90 days. So if I would have the time to prepare for a red team engagement, I would buy the domain and then wait for like, let's say 60 to 90 days where we have just the WordPress out and nothing else. And then send the emails to, warm up and, send communication to other people and respond.
Thanks. And the last part, and I'll make it quite brief as well. The IP address, is going to be SendGrid's IP, which is...
It's going to be SendGrid, yeah.
Yeah, what if it's not SendGrid's IP? How much of an impact does that have on domain reputation?
If the SendGrid has a bad reputation?
No, so if you're not using SendGrid IP, if you're using just a postfix from,
so when you use, so initially I had a project with like a postfix installed locally. So I had these cases when I build up like a DigitalOcean, they assign me like a random IP. And when I send the emails, it doesn't arrive in the inbox. So I go check the logs and it says the email could not be delivered to Google because Google refused. And if you go online and check the IP address, it says it's malicious. Okay, so we got assigned an IP address that was probably used before and it's malicious. Okay, destroy and recreate, that's all. And at some point I'm gonna get like a new IP which is good. Or you can, there's also like a feature you can pay in DigitalOcean and reserve like a specific IP and get like a premium IP so you make sure that's not blacklisted from the beginning.
No worries, thank you Andrei, thank you.